Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 23 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 45 today for the Monaco Grand Prix in Season 3. If you guys did miss the previous one at the Spanish GP, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. That was a comeback drive and a half after we got blocked in qualifying, knocked out in Q1, and after quite a few days of not playing the F1 23 game, we returned and we had to really pull it out of the bag, but the hard tyres proving to be the absolute way to go around Catalonia. It was a really great drive for us. A lot of action late on in the race. You know, the race win decided on the last lap as Bottas tried his hardest to get one over Oscar Piastri, but just couldn't manage it. Piastri defending his first place on the last lap to take victory, his second victory ever in Formula 1 and in this season, and continuing to be at the top of the championship order and looking pretty damn strong. But McLaren as a whole, you know, after Bottas's little blip, you know, with not scoring at Australia and Singapore, you know, once again returned to form and showing that even though it was quite exciting to see that they could be beaten, and Red Bull looked really strong, winning back-to-back races in those last two episodes before Spain, that McLaren has still got pace, and that it's going to take a lot more than just a little bit of a reliability blip to actually beat them over the course of the season, whether that's for Red Bull, Mercedes, ourselves, of course. And speaking of ourselves, we're trying to get ourselves back up towards McLaren and these top teams on this grid in Season 3 by bringing upgrades to the car. I just can't about afford, though, the ERS upgrade. We've obviously got the ultimate engine power upgrade pending. We purchased that last episode, but I literally just have like 100 points less that I need to afford the ultimate ERS upgrade. I feel like once those two upgrades come in, yeah, there's still a bit to go on the fuel, but I think that should put us in a good way versus the rest of the order in terms of how quick our car is, how good it looks on paper. Unfortunately, though, in the middle of the Monaco race weekend, you can see now I've got over 3,500 points because I did the practice programs. I couldn't actually purchase the ERS upgrade because we've only got one capacity for one upgrade at a time with the engine department, because we've never really had to rapidly upgrade the engine, so I've never bothered to upgrade the the simultaneous upgrades on the HQ facility. So we're gonna have to wait now because I can't even purchase that HQ facility upgrade in the middle of the race weekend. So we're just gonna have to wait basically until that engine power upgrade comes in, then we can purchase the ERS upgrade. But it's going to be needed in time because you can see going into the Monaco GP, Aston Martin making upgrades, the others plateauing a bit, you know, McLaren, Red Bull, Ferrari not making upgrades, but yeah, Aston Martin and Mercedes, sorry, as well, both Mercedes power teams making upgrades, getting ahead of Ferrari, and we plateau and fall away a little bit. So that upgrade next episode for Portimao is going to come in a really good time for us, because any more of this and we would be kind of drifting towards being solid midfield with Alpine. But you know, we showed the car still has some great pace, and although it looks a bit doom and gloom on the R&D chart because everything's so zoomed in, there is actually still a bit of pace in the car, and if we can really pull our finger out, basically we can actually make something work, as we did in Spain with that P5, and even more so in Monaco than at Spain. The driver can make a massive difference around here. It's all about dialing into the circuit, and we are trying to do that in Q1 with, again, a bit of traffic here at Monaco, but unlike in Spain, not getting blocked by a McLaren there of Oscar Piastri. We are going to get blocked by my other older teammate, Daniel Ricciardo. So we're having to try and overtake both our former teammates there, and the more recent one blocking me a little bit in the final corner as we lose a bit of time on this second flying lap. So we're going to have to go for a third lap towards the end of this session to pull us out. We're down in P10, so I just need to feel a bit more comfortable because I feel like others will be improving. So first sector, just some small gains. In the second sector, though, through the hairpin, able to try and wrestle the car through and gain even more, up to nearly about 4/10. We're kind of yo-yoing about, though, corner to corner as we go through this lap. So it's going to be hard to tell how much we can really gain by the end of it, because we gain so much but then lose so much in the last few corners. And so by the time we get to the run to the line, we've literally been up to 2, 3, 4/10 gained, and we're going to end with 4/10 gain, thankfully, to get us up into P5 and comfortably through into Q2. I wouldn't normally really, emphasize on that, but of course course, last episode we got knocked out in Q1, so it's just nice to get back into Q2, you know, get back into the swing of actually qualifying somewhat decently. But you can see Piastri looking mighty fine. Bottas down there in P10, but Piastri looking strong. So I wonder, after a second win this season, is that going to be Piastri in the driving seat? You know, Bottas really needs to get the result back on Piastri. He nearly did it at Spain, but, you know, he needs to be careful because we know how much momentum is a huge thing for AI. So, you know, in that inter-team battle for McLaren, it's going to be pretty important that Bottas doesn't let Piastri run away with this. And for the sake of us and everyone else on the grid, I hope Piastri doesn't run away with it. We need a title fight there, because otherwise it's going to be very hard for any of us to catch Piastri if the McLarens aren't taking points off each other. But we're at the end now of our first flying lap in Q2, and I think we've really nailed this lap. It felt really decent in the first two sectors, and now the run to the line, and oh, Leclerc comes out the pits and gives me the scare of my life. My God, Charles Leclerc, please do not do that to me again. My God, I jumped out my skin completely. Did not see that Ferrari coming. And you know what? We're lucky there's a ghosting system with cars in the pit lane, because I literally ghost through Leclerc's rear tyres. I literally ghost through his side pod. That would have been the most, you know, tragic crash ever in this race weekend if there was no ghosting involved. Thankfully, there was. I did break my front wing because I literally steered so hard left to jump out of the way. Thankfully, like I said, that first lap, I was really happy with it, and that was all we needed to get through into the top 10 shootout. Leclerc also makes it through, so good for both our sakes. No casualties from that near miss or ghosting situation, but my God, that was a fright and a half, that Ferrari coming out of nowhere from the pit lane exit. You know, you keep to the right-hand side to get the shortest run, or at least I feel like that it gives you a shorter run if you stick to the right and don't go diagonally left on the racing line. But it also means that can very much happen to you in qualifying, as we now go into Q3, and you can clearly see it is a bit damp out there. We're on intermediate. Not a massive surprise, because it did look quite overcast in Q2, and there was a bit of a forecast for some rain. I wasn't sure how much, but it's come on Saturday. There was actually some forecast for some on Sunday, so we're going to have to see how it is for tomorrow's Grand Prix. I kind of hope not, because Monaco is already quite difficult enough without the challenge of rain for the entire time. But this is looking like a much better second lap, as we're really trying to wrestle and steer this car with a bit of, you know, urgency on the front end around Sector 2. We lose a little bit of time down the crest. We gained quite a lot in the hairpin and then lost some, but ultimately we are going to be about 6 to maybe 7 tenths up, I don't know, on the exit. No, we're going down the order actually to a solid just 6 tenths up. Purple middle sector gets us up into 3rd place, and that's going to be our best lap, because I lock up out the tunnel on our 3rd lap. I think it's actually getting wetter as we go on through this session, so not surprising I've locked up. The intermediate's probably just not even, you know, taking enough water from underneath there to actually have the grip. So in the end of it, that second flying lap's our best one, and that's good enough to get us up onto the 2nd row. How about that? I'm really chuffed with that, because, you know, you saw where the car was technically on paper on the R&D chart, being knocked out in Q1 last episode. I'm really happy with this. It's a McLaren front row lockout, annoyingly to all of us. They look very strong around here. Once again, you know, 2 to nearly 3 tenths clear of the rest of us in a world of their own, basically. But for us to be on the 2nd row, really happy with that. Ahead of Gasly, who's not been too great in those inters conditions down in P7. But let's see now if it's going to be raining for the race. If it is, that's going to be bad news for Gasly potentially. But to be honest, for me, I don't really want it to rain. I want it to be dry so we can really try and have a go at the McLarens, hopefully. So let's go to the grid.
A proper road race, and in the true meaning of the word. That's how Mr. Monaco, the late great Graham Hill, once described this iconic event. The cars we drive have come a long way in the intervening half-century, but still we race on those same public roads beside the Mediterranean. There's no victory more coveted than that of the Monaco Grand Prix. We're on the French Riviera once more this weekend at the 2-mile-long Circuit de Monaco. The cars will climb around 40 metres up the hill, past the casino, and then descend towards the harbour through Sector 2. It's a very short run from pole position to the first of 19 corners, and don't expect to see much overtaking here today. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Oscar Piastri lines up on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have the owner driver, Norris, Leclerc, Gasly, Verstappen, Ocon, Fernando Alonso, Albon, Mick Schumacher, Sainz, Perez, Russell, Ricciardo, the owner driver, Magnussen, Teo Pourchaire, Stroll, Hulkenberg, Liam Lawson, and Logan Sargent. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. I'm joined again today by none other than Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, obviously there's a lot of development work that goes on with these cars between the Grand Prix. You've been both a test driver and a race driver. What differences are there in the way that you approach those roles?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. They're two very different mindsets. In the old days, of course, they used to cover up to 15,000 kilometres of testing in a season, and that role would be more about working for the team, trying to help them improve the car and drive as systematically as possible, so that the data could be analysed in the most consistent way. When lining up on the grid for a race, however, a race driver's frame of mind is all about what they can get out of the situation on that day, and the car is the tool to help them achieve those goals.
So it's looking a little bit overcast around Monaco here on Sunday, but for now, the rain is going to stay away. There is some forecast, though. There was one icon for some wet weather right at the end of the race. So whether that means, you know, a couple of laps out, it's going to be a bit tricky and all of us have to try and skate through to the end on dries, or it will be a quick dive in for inters, we're going to have to see. But at the moment, it's going to be dry for most part of the race, and that's why I've chosen the hard tyres, because that will allow us to either dive into the pits for softs at the end. We do have one fresh set, obviously, because we didn't use any in Q3, or dive in for inters. I feel like that will give us the best chance of being able to see what the weather's saying, and also will give us track position once Piastri and Bottas pit in off their softs and mediums respectively. Surprised to see Piastri, the pole sitter, on softs, but there you go, a very different way to go from the top three as we go to 5 red lights for the Monaco Grand Prix, and we're underway. It's a good start for Bottas, who covers us off into turn 1. No surprise there though on hard tyres. Of course, I was never going to get an electric start, but just really happy to stay ahead of Lando Norris and Leclerc. Norris tried his hardest to get round the outside. Bottas really didn't help things. Oh, there's a massive crash. Oh, 2 massive crashes behind us in Sector 1. Max Verstappen is out. Yuki Tsunoda was airborne for a second there. And it's a huge problem here at Monaco as the safety car is out. And it's not even been half a lap there. There's the air time that Tsunoda got, crashing with another car. I think it was an Alpine, and then there's another Alpine that gets involved with the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. So it's a disaster start for the Alpine team. Both drivers out, and they've taken out Tsunoda and Verstappen respectively as we now get underway once again. And we've not even had a full proper flying lap in this race as we get underway on towards lap 5 of the Monaco Grand Prix. And yeah, let's hope we can maybe finish this lap at least before any other sort of incident. But that was quite immediate, as I was about to talk about Norris having a go at us into turn 1 and Bottas blocking us off to the inside there, and it just all kicked off massively. So early safety car maybe plays into Piastri's hands, gives him a few more laps, 5 of them, that he can go deeper into this Grand Prix now, and that's 5 less laps for me to have an advantage maybe of tyre wear, let's say, on the hard tyres later in this race. I don't know, we're going to have to see. But right now, once again, this car proving just to be quite alien-like on the hard tyres. It's a different machine. This car is so much better on the hards, it's not even funny. And I just have to accept that from now on for the rest of this career series, that if I want to go quick, I think I should go onto the hards, unless there's a scope for, there's not going to be too much tyre on the soft compound. The mediums just really would rather not even bother trying to go on if I can help it. Because we're actually closing up and staying with Bottas, 3 laps later now, lap 8 since we restarted this race. I'm all over the back of the field. in on mediums that should be quicker, and we're going to go for the move at Mirabeau on the outside of the fin. We're going to split the McLarens. We've overtaken one of the McLarens legitimately there on pace on the outside of Mirabeau on the hards versus his mediums. Whether the tyre wear is a bit high here around Monaco with the colder conditions maybe being more abrasive in terms of the track surface, I don't know. But I guess we're going to find out if Piastri struggles a bit because he's on the softs. Those will be wearing out right about now. Lap 10, I would say, is Lando Norris locks up and he's in the wall. Oh! It's a shocker for Red Bull. Just like Alpine, both of their drivers are now out of the Monaco Grand Prix. Lando Norris parks up, tyre off, locks up, straight into the wall, and it's going to be an early trip back to his flat today at Monaco. That is unfortunate for Red Bull and for Alpine and for all of us who are still in the race. It's a second safety car of the day. My engineer's asking me about a change of strategy. Right now, we're scheduled to be lap 24 on the softs. They're asking to pit this lap for the mediums, but like I said, I just don't think the mediums are that great. And there's a chance of track position here that we are going to get because Piastri, unsurprisingly, comes in off the softs under this second safety car. But to my surprise, Bottas, Leclerc, Gasly, everyone's in. Even if they were on mediums, they've come in on lap 11 very early off the mediums, because generally I think you want to go to about lap 15 on the mediums at least. Piastri makes sense off the soft, so everyone has opted to go onto the hard tyres apart from Piastri, who goes from soft to medium. So the Australian going for a very, very aggressive strategy here today. He's very confident about his tyre wear levels, must be, because everyone else goes on hards. Bottas had to double stack behind Piastri, so he's lost out position because Leclerc now is third on the road and legitimately splits the two McLarens now with that double stack. We're in P1. We're leading the Grand Prix off this second safety car because we opted not to pit to have track position. Whether it's going to be the right decision, let's find out. It's a good exit for us versus that safety car period into turn one. A slight lock up very close to the wall. That could have been a bit scary as I was just begging the car to keep turning and not going to the wall just like that. Oh, Liam Lawson in the barrier. He's locked up just like I did. It was easy to do. The race leader nearly did it, but Lawson has done it. Sargent as well, I think, got caught up in all of that, and they're both in the wall, and it brings out a third safety car of this Monaco Grand Prix. Mad. I'm actually surprised one of these incidents hasn't brought out a red flag, actually. So for once, it's three safety cars, because usually on F1 23, because of the red flags now, you don't actually get multiple safety cars because one of the incidents usually ends up in a red flag. But today we have three safety cars out, and good timing for me, to be fair, because Piastri was actually on the back of me trying to overtake me. So on the second redo of this restart where Piastri's behind me, I need to be wary of that. He was right on me straight away on those fresh mediums, unsurprisingly. So going to try a different tactic. I went quite early on the restart last time out, so this time I'm going to try actually backing up the pack a little bit. The safety car is still in our sights, but it's going to come into the pit lane, and then we're going to back the pack up and try and catch Piastri out if we can to build a bit of a gap, because he's going to be so quick on the mediums. Oh, there's an Aston Martin though. Albon, he's stuck on the wall and everyone's ghosting through him. Again, if there wasn't for ghosting there, that would be just a pretty horrendous crash and a pile-up at Rascat. So Albon, in a flash, is down to last place, which is P15, by the way, in this race. The attrition rate has been high, as we've had, 7 DNFs in this race so far, 15 runners. We're 5 DNFs away from everyone finishing the race, scoring points then, just by default, as once again, we're under pressure from Piastri. We lock up, nearly send it into the wall ahead of us at Mirabeau. These hard tyres obviously have been on them since the start of the Grand Prix, so they're 16 laps old. Piastri, he's only been on those tyres for a couple of laps, and half of those laps have been under a safety car, or most of them have, so there's no surprise why he's so quick. And through the tunnel, he's got a great run and exit, and out the tunnel on the other side we defend, but he's so much quicker quicker in the brake zone. We're going to be neck and neck, though. We've got a bit of ERS to try and come back at him through to back into this swimming pool chicane. Can we keep this side by side? Yes, we can. And we blink last. And Piastri backs out of that. He didn't fancy staying committed, and I was hoping for that. You know, we're having to play a bit of chicken with him about how far he wants to go to try and fight me for this P1, as once again we have to go defensive. We were side by side through Raskas. He tried to do the reverse Raskas move to me, going on the outside of that corner. That was unbelievable. So that's just how much quicker he is. That an AI car is trying to overtake me around the outside of Raskas. Unbelievable. So this is going to have to be a defensive job and a half. And one lap later, lap 18, again, Piastri's close. We're saving ERS on purpose through this tunnel because he's so good off that right-hander exit. As we go down the hill, it's a virtual safety car because Lance Stroll, oh my God, what the hell? He's crashed into the wall, and then he was so wayward all over the shop, Lance Stroll. He almost span it and crashed into Schumacher in the Mercedes. So under the virtual safety car, I'm calling it. I'm pitting in for the medium tyres. I know. I just spoke about earlier in the race all this spiel about the mediums being the worst tyre. But I looked at it and the writing was on the wall. Piastri and everyone, they were so... Oh, there's a pit stop issue. Oh my God, the front right didn't go on properly. Okay, right, okay, that just made things worse. But anyway, let me finish my point. The writing was on the wall. Everyone was so much quicker than me. I was on such worn, hard tyres that I had to make a pit stop. In hindsight, it would have been better to make a pit stop under one of those full safety cars. But, you know, it's too late now. And obviously, you can say a lot in hindsight. Now, in the moment, I've decided to pit in. At least we've pit in under a virtual safety car. So we've actually not lost as much time as we would have under a normal pit stop. It's not as powerful as a full safety car pit stop, but it's still going to save us some time. And, you know, we're only 6 to 7 seconds behind the next car, Albon. And remember, now we're on the freshest tyres on this grid. Everyone has been on their tyres for at least, you know, 5 to 6 racing laps under the 2 safety cars, which would have worn out their tyres a little bit. And, you know, to be honest, some of the guys on mediums, I'm not sure if they're going to get to the end. Like Piastri leading the race, he's on mediums. I don't think he can get to the end, maybe. So he might be doing a 2-stop and being very aggressive. So, you know, the race is still not over. And there's also maybe the chance of rain at the end, or if not, maybe, you know, everyone's doing a 2-stop and bailing onto softs. I don't know. So there's still plenty of this race to go. And right now, it's just about getting our head down and chasing after. Well, this man, Alexander Albon, as we're closing up. We've both got DRS, but we've got a lot of battery and all the momentum in the world to go round the outside at turn 1. Beautiful little move on the Thai Brit driver up to P13, set the fast lap of the Grand Prix. Whilst we do it, we are in a groove, and for once the mediums aren't feeling too horrendous, and versus the hard tyre runners looking good. And oh, a filthy late dive bomb on Checo Perez there in the Sauber. He's on softs. I don't know why he's on softs in the middle of the race, but clearly he's feeling a lot of tyre wear because we came from so far back to overtake him. But then also versus all these hard tyre runners, we've got so much traction as we're pushing Schumacher through the tunnel. He goes defensive. We go to the outside, and we're going to go the long way round, get to the inside then for the next right-hander through that little right and then left, as we get up into P11 and close up then to Carlos Sainz for points-paying positions now. We're going to have a bit of a cheeky go in the hairpin, catch him napping a little bit. Sainz comes back at us, though. He's going to get the elbows out. Carlos Sainz, oh, he's vaulted the curb, and he's pushed into my car. We've collided. He was not happy with that hairpin attempt. That was insane. That was almost like I was racing a human who was going, no, don't try and overtake me in the hairpin. How dare you? And Sainz coming back at us, he makes more contact with us as he just won't give up the position there. Eventually, we do get the position, but my God, that was a scrap and hard. That really genuinely felt like I was racing an actual person there who was peeved off about my cheeky attempt at a hairpin overtake. As we now get Theo Pourchaire in the Williams car up into P9. And yeah, versus the hards, the mediums are actually working really well here. And I think it's more so just because I pit you know, a good 6 laps after everyone else has been on these tyres during safety car periods as well, which will wear out the tyres. I think they're just actually facing tyre wear, and I've just got some fresh tyres right now, and I'm really overusing them. I say overusing them because maybe I'm pushing a little bit too hard. I don't know. We've overtaken Magnussen and we are flying through these guys, but obviously that's going to come back to bite me maybe as the front tyres maybe screaming out at the end of this race, depending on if we're going to make another pit stop or not for the rain. You know, we're going to have to see, but we go for the lunge for the Raskas dive bomb. A little bit sketchy as there was a little bit of rubbing between the tyre walls of my front left and Russell's front right tyre. We grazed the wall, but there's actually no damage to our car, so in the end of it, kind of a semi-clean move. Obviously there was a bit of argy-bargy, but at Monaco, if you're going to make moves there, you kind of have to get the elbows out and get a bit of grease out as well to get through. And we get up into P7 and now closing up to the second Sauber of the day, Hulkenberg. He's going to be easy work for us. Actually, a very copycat move to the one we made on his teammate Perez on the inside of Mirabeau as we get up into P6. Now there's a bit of a gap to Alonso, and this is where we just try and get our head down and also wait and see what people are doing, because it's lap 30. It's very overcast now again after having some sunshine, and Alonso is in. Alonso comes in off the hard tyres. Now this is making me think he's on the hards. He's not even on mediums like Piastri. So this is why I was saying earlier, I think, you know, maybe this is a 2-stop Monaco race, and the hard tyre runners who pit early under that, you know, initial safety car or second safety car of the day, they might be coming in again. You know, Piastri's on mediums as well. So surely Piastri is coming in. Surely off mediums if Alonso's come in from hards. And he does. Piastri, he is in. For I don't know what set of tyres, but he's in off the mediums. Leclerc is in. Bottas continues on though. Gasly continues on. But this means now I will overtake Piastri and Leclerc, because of course we made our pit stop in this kind of sequence of the race already under that virtual safety car. And you know, the next pit stop I'm going to potentially make is if the rain comes, because I'm going to try and take these mediums to the end of the race. So we are up into legitimately third place ahead of Piastri, ahead of Leclerc, and if Gasly and Bottas pit, we'll be back in the lead. So no harm, no foul, pitting, you know, a lot later in the race under the virtual safety car rather than the full one, you know, potentially. I don't know, we're gonna have to see how this pans out basically, but lap 32, it is looking rather good for us as on lap 33 now, Piastri, he's on softs, Leclerc's on softs. They are right up our gearbox. Piastri, look in the mirrors. He goes for the move on the outside. We go defensive. But to my surprise so far, Gasly and Bottas, they're not in. I think they're trying to do a one-stop. So Bottas is the one that still leads the race. Gasly second place. They're all both on hards. I think they're going to the end, it would seem like, because now it's a bit too late for a last-minute dry tyre pit stop. I think they're either going to the end or really praying for some rain, I think it is, probably more likely. As, oh, Leclerc! Look, Leclerc nearly makes a move on Piastri into Casino Square. Piastri got caught up behind me with dirty air. And Leclerc almost tried to sling one around the outside of that right-hander. Very, very unorthodox place to make a pass, to be honest there. Not often do you even see cars going side by side through there, as Piastri is all over the back of me, and I'm just doing a job of defending this, because I'm not catching Gasly and Bottas 8 seconds right now, but all I can do is defend this third place, as Leclerc again tries but fails to get past Piastri. But I'm just waiting and hoping Gasly and Bottas pit eventually, or if the rain comes, maybe we can do something, as Piastri goes wide again, and this time a lot wider, as, oh no though, oh no, Leclerc, what went on there? Charles, you could have made an easy pass. Piastri was so slow at the apex, but instead Leclerc's crashed into the wall, and he's broken not only his, but Alonso's front wing as well. So both of them are in the pits. And now on lap 37, it is starting to rain. You can see the streaks of water on the halo, the droplets of rain forming on the camera, and Piastri is all over us. His soft tyres will be really good here. We lock up. We almost go straight into the wall. Piastri does go into the wall. And Mirabeau, it's a racing incident, but I was locking up. I was a passenger in that, but I took Piastri for the ride into Mirabeau because he was trying to go for the move on the outside because his soft tyres, of course, right now are going to be the best tyres to be on in these slippery conditions. And it ended up him being in the wall with front wing damage, and his front wing has given my car floor damage. So both of us limping around. It's so wet out there. Bottas and Gasly rounding Raskas now, but Bottas doesn't come in. What? Gasly is not in. Unbelievable. Piastri and myself are in. Piastri to alter change his front wing. We have no front wing change because we can't, you know, change the floor, of course. So we're actually, ironically, going to jump Piastri back in the pits because he had to change his front wing. But we've now got permanent floor damage, which will hurt, you know, mid-apex, you know, the downforce and the balance levels. But we're on Inters. Sainz not on it, and no one else has put onto Inters. What is going on? We make two very easy overtakes on Sainz and Schumacher, just out tractioning them up the hill. What is going on? This Monaco Grand Prix, it's been chaotic the entire time, to be honest, but it's turning into an absolutely biblical one because no one else, apart from me and Piastri, it seems like, has put onto Inters. Nico Hulkenberg in a Sauber is in third place. Him and everyone else are crawling around this circuit on the dry tyres for whatever reason. Like, you know, Gasly and Bottas had such a big opportunity there on lap 38 to come in, but they're still out there on dries as we send one down the inside. Hulkenberg can't even slow the car down. He's trying to defend us, but he can't even slow the car down properly. He goes off circuit out the tunnel as we're back into third place now, having made this pit stop. And oh my days, Gasly and Bottas, they've still not come in. We've got 27 seconds to them. Is there any way they could go slow enough that we could catch them, I wonder? As Piastri is trying to find his way through this, having obviously lost a lot more time than me in the pit stops of the front wing change, but no one's coming in. Everyone's committing to staying out on dries. The only people on Inters, I think, are myself and Piastri, as Piastri makes a move then on Lance Stroll. He's flying up the positions. He's up to P7. Surely he'll get Sainz, Schumacher and Hulkenberg by the end of the last lap and will be up into P4 by the checkered flag. But what can we do? We are 22 seconds behind Gasly, still on very worn hard tyres. Bottas the same, and Bottas has gone off out the tunnel. He's locked up and gone straight into the wall, and so is Pierre Gasly. Oh my God. What on earth is going on in this Monaco race? Bottas in the wall. Gasly in the wall. Wait, hang on. Where's oh my God, Gasly's not out the race. Bottas has DNF'd. He's crashed from the lead of the Monaco GP in these conditions. But Gasly is still hobbling along with a broken front wing on very worn hard tyres. And we are closing up on intermediate. We're chucking this car around so much so we get some wing damage, but we're gonna do this as we go through into the last corner. Gasly leads, not anymore. We've got the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix, and we've just led home a 1-2 at the Monaco Grand Prix. Unbelievable. That ending was truly biblical scenes. Oh my God.
You can't fault the performance on the track today. A well-deserved victory. Well, Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today, but what set them apart from the rest?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
Well, what a thrilling end to an incredible Grand Prix weekend. Our top three finishers should be incredibly happy with what they were able to achieve out there today.
That might have been the craziest race we've ever had on F1 23 so far in this series. Absolute madness. 3 safety cars, a virtual safety car. rain at the end, and we've somehow made a pit stop with 2 laps to go. And we've come through from what was it, P6, to come back to make a legit overtake on track as well for P1. Gasly had a penalty. We didn't even have to overtake him, but I made sure to overtake him on track because that was so much more satisfying to say that we did that. We got the legitimate race lead on track, having been, down in P6 only 2 laps ago. Crazy. What a mad race. So many pit stops. Perez made like a 5-stop. Him and Russell actually were 2 other people that did go on to Inters, but I suspect it was a little too late for them versus Piastri, who did get up into P4. But shout out to Nico Hülkenberg, by the way, because of Bottas crashing out. Hülkenberg and the Sauber got P3. That is massive for them, and then it's massive for us to get a 1-2. The DNF list is wild as well. 11 DNFs, only 11 finishes in that race. Fernando Alonso last on the road, but incredible stuff. And we end up in 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship. We're still a whopping 30 points away from Piastri. And this race, this wasn't a normal race, so we're going to soak it in. We're going to enjoy it, because what a bloody entertaining race. But I don't think I'm going to get too ahead of myself in terms of the Drivers and the Constructors' Championship just yet. But for people like Sauber, 16 points on the board now, up to P7. That race is huge for them, and for us it's huge just to kind of boost us. And you know, that is the biggest damage limitation you could have ever done, basically, in a situation like this where technically our car really shouldn't have the speed to do that, and we've come out with a 1-2 in the Principality. Incredible. Guys, if you have enjoyed what has definitely been the most mental race we've had on F1 23 to date, then hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.